As I'm sure most of you have experienced, workplace information can change quickly and often. Production schedules, incoming volume of requests, customer patterns and requirements, technical specifications, material availability, work in process, and 1,000 other details on which the daily life of our processes depends. In any single day, literally thousands of informational transactions are required to keep work current, accurate, and timely.
But what happens when this vital information is hard to access, incomplete, inaccurate, or simply missing? People ask lots of questions, lots of the same questions, repeatedly. An information-scarce workplace is the opposite of a visual workplace. When key information is not instantly available, the organization pays for that in long cycle times, late deliverables, poor quality, mistakes, low morale, and runaway costs.
When visual information is not in place, these unpleasant occurrences are chronic and rarely take a break. They happen all the time, which means daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, Struggle becomes a way of life. In a pre-visual workplace, everything and everyone are forced to exist within a narrow bit of their actual capability, contributing much less than they are able to. The work environment lacks clarity. There is no common purpose, and attempts to improve the process many times fail because of the smallest gains disappearing overnight. A non-visual workplace has no way to sustain them, however hard we work to get improvements in place. This is the unpleasant state of affairs that results from chronic deficit of information or unanswered questions.
Think about traveling. One of the hardest parts about traveling is getting around in an unfamiliar place. This is London's Heathrow Airport. Each year, 80 million people pass through this airport, which is 4.7 miles in size with just 2 runways. The airport's 5 terminals are confusing enough, but if you have a connecting flight, the chaos begins. The airport has 80 stores, 40 restaurants, and tons of other places packed with crowds, which force passengers to muscle their way through to catch their next flight. Now, on top of all that, there is a ton of confusing signage. It seems like it was designed to throw everyone off track. Another favorite, LAX in Los Angeles. It seems simple enough, especially when you look at an aerial shot. LAX is one giant loop, but crammed into the airport's tiny space, just 3,500 acres, are multiple terminals, rental car centers, and parking lots, all of which regularly get congested with traffic. Don't know which terminal you lead? Good luck catching another shuttle to the next one. Miss Terminal 1? You'll have to go all the way around again to reconnect. There are 8 terminals here, and don't even get us started on a connection. Each terminal requires you to go through security again. And the best part, poor signage. The only way to get around is to ask a friendly face who seems like they might be able to help.
Might not be a lot of those. Let's bring it back to your work. We've said enough about airports and inefficiencies. The idea behind the visual workspace is to create a workspace that speaks to us. Consider your current workspace. Imagine that you have a new person or a person from another area in the business starting, and you need them to get up to speed and productive as quickly as possible. In your workbooks, there's a space for you to capture a list of questions that a new employee might ask. Pause the video now and brainstorm a few ideas or examples. Capture those ideas, and then we'll get back together. Pause it.
And welcome back. In most organizations, we're used to confusion, ambiguity, and unclear processes. As a matter of fact, many businesses drive this type of culture by rewarding people who hoard or hide information so that they appear more valuable. In this type of environment, those who have the info without sharing it or making it explicit often become a bottleneck. They often see themselves as the heroes who save the day, when in fact, the process is dysfunctional. It leaves employees with so many unanswered questions that cause frustration and low productivity. This is one of the challenges with problem solving. It's hard for us to see our own problems. It's just our culture. It's just the way it is around here.
Paying attention to questions that are asked can give us clues to solutions. Verbal questions are so commonplace in most companies that some people, including managers and supervisors, sometimes think that their main job is to provide the answers day in and day out all the time. Calculating the level of questions, in other words, missing answers or information deficits, in your work is the quickest way to determine whether a visual workplace is needed. You can do this by keeping track of the questions you are asked. We call this the first question is free rule. When someone asks a question about how things work, answer it politely and clearly, but make a mental note. That's one. Then wait until you are asked the same question again. Well, don't just stand there and wait for it, but do other stuff. And either by the same person or someone else. Again, answer the question politely and clearly. And as that person walks away, make that mental note. That's two. The first question is free. The second time you hear that same question from the same person or anyone else, it's time for you to create a solution so that you never ever have to answer that question again and no one ever has to ask it. Start taking concrete steps in turning your workshop into a lean and visual place. Notice the information deficits around you. Notice the questions and the answers that are missing. Then start answering them through 5S and visual devices. The objective is to create a workplace that speaks to us.
Creating a visual workplace includes using a variety of marking, labeling, and signage to answer questions and make hidden things obvious. It can include things like graphic flowcharts or maps, instructions, floor and storage markings, and clear and standardized file naming and file storage practices. A workplace that's visual explains itself because of these different visual devices that we incorporate. They can be defined as any mechanism, item, or thing that influences, directs, limits, or controls behavior by making information vital to the task at hand available at a glance to anyone and everyone who needs it without speaking a word. The level of information visual devices can carry is really infinite. Very few organizations understand this, and so it's rare to see it done well.
Visual devices are one of the most misunderstood opportunities for huge improvement. The use of visual devices that clearly and precisely explain how to perform error-free work safely, smoothly, reliably, and on time. A visual workplace is a place where what's supposed to happen does happen, and it happens on time, every time, because of eliminated waste and visual solutions. It is self-ordering. It's in an order you can easily use. It explains itself to everyone by sharing vital information about what to do, what not to do, how and when to do it, how to respond if something goes wrong. It is self-regulating and transparent because it explains itself. A visual workplace can regulate itself through high-impact, low-cost visual tools. And it acquires the ability over time to correct itself and become self-improving because visual devices are constantly providing feedback on our performance and the performance of the company.
In a visual workplace, information is converted into simple, commonly understood visual devices, installed in the process of the work itself as close to the point of use as possible. The result is the transformation of a formerly silent work environment where information is hidden and hard to find, into one that speaks clearly and precisely about how to perform error-free work safely, smoothly, reliably, and on time. Each employee has instant, on-demand access to information that is vital to their own work. The business is infused with intelligence and tangible benefits that you can literally see.
Creating a visual workplace is a great way to make complete and accurate information easy to understand, to make information instantly available. It can improve our cycle time, quality, morale, and costs.